So hello and welcome again to D Life In channel. So D Life In podcast. So D Life In is a platform for, by and for Indians focusing on Indian low carb keto diet. We have around 250 success stories and more than 1,200 plus Indian LCHF and keto recipes. And DLF in 2020, they also started what's called as a 6-month low carb nutrition diploma course. So I'm Shashikant, a volunteer in DLife with a special interest in low carb nutrition. And just to inform all the viewers, there are no financial conflicts in any of the programs. These are all pure education. There are no financial transaction. And and I'm going to be the host of the show today, and many more down to come. Yeah. So today I want to introduce a special member of D-Life, Mr. Arun Kumar. Now, Mr. Arun Kumar has more than 3 decades of experience in pharma industry. He's currently also a pharma trainer, and he is 25 plus years of a diabetes history. And he's someone who has been doing this LCHF keto for the last 6 years or so. And I want now everyone to gain some knowledge from the experience shared by Arun Kumar. So Arun Kumar, welcome to D-Life channel.
Yeah, thank you, Sazi. Uh, let us start. If you talk about my diabetic journey, or you can say the diabetic history. So it all started in the late 1992. Yeah, I correctly remember the month. It is November, and while I was just preparing for myself in morning to go for my work, so suddenly I get giddiness. It was actually giddiness not due to the diabetes. It is giddiness. Later on, I came to know it is due to the orthostatic hypotension. Sometimes it happens to many of us. So my family pushed me to call the family doctor. He just asked for the certain test, and blood sugar was one of them. During those period, actually blood glucometer was not available freely. Hardly few companies are having that too. They are giving in the camps, so that was not accessible to us. I went to lab, then gave the fasting, then the PP, and the next day when I got the report, it was something the bomb blast before me. I detected that diabetic. The fasting was somewhere around 150. Exactly, I'm not remembering, but near about 150, and PP was more than 200. So I was declared a diabetic. For a few days, I was in depression due to the diabetes. Then doctor prescribed me simple the metformin. The brand name, if I remember, it is Glycomet, and 500 milligram after food, more in lunch, after dinner also. The things started going like this. Since I was not aware of diabetic medicine or what are the consequences of diabetes, because the company I was working, they are dealing with the antibiotics. So I was only knowing about the knowledge of the antibiotics. Then after few years, continuing with the same glycomet, exercise, running more and more, walking more and more. But after say about 5 6 years, my blood glucose was not under control. Fasting never come below 135, and PP never come below 165 or 70. So doctor told me to better you visit a endocrinologist. So he will treat you something that. Then I visited one endocrinologist. If I remember, in the year 1998 probably. I visited. He's a renowned endocrinologist here in Patna. He gave me again all the tests and including the albumin and all. And he prescribed the medicine. He actually off the metformin. He prescribed pioglitazone and gliclazide. Gliclazide that to 80 milligram morning and 80 milligram in evening before food, and pioglitazone 15 milligram and 15 milligram. Later on, he make it a 30 milligram once at night. Again, the blood sugar was under control, but with the gliclazide, almost about 160 milligram in a day. So then I started reading all about these anti-diabetic drugs because I had an interest. So I thought I should know what is this drug and what are the side effects. But nothing doing. The things were going like this. And after that, after say about again 4 5 years, I visited another endocrinologist. I visited means it is my regular doctor's call. So doctor, during the discussion, he told me, okay, you come and I will see you, what I can do for you. So he prescribed again the metformin, pioglitazone, and he changed the gliclazide to glimepiride. That to glimepiride, he started 4.5 milligram for in 24 hours. He prescribed actually it is in the once a day, pioglitazone also once a day, and metformin he prescribed just twice a day. Then it continued up to 2008. In 2009, I've been hit by diabetic peripheral neuropathy. So actually in my lower limb, I was feeling not pain, but numbness was there. So that was a bell ring in my ear. And I thought enough is enough. I have to do something because continuing with the drugs and all. And some of my doctor's friend also told me that drugs, if you continue, a day will come when you have to take insulin, and further a day will come when you have to visit the dialysis unit. So I was very worried about all this. Then after say about 1 or 2 years, I read one article from Steve Cooksey. He is doing this low carb diet, but then at that time he was doing low carb diet, but based on the meat and bacon and beef and all, which was not possible for me actually. Then I was thinking what to do. I actually at that time I was also member of Health Unlocked. You know HU. So there a lot of discussions were going on, and many of people were in favor of this mainstream medication and mainstream treatment line of treatment for diabetes. Then one doctor met me. I met him one doctor. He told me that Arun, you better again change your medicine, and I will give you some higher dose of this. So he prescribed glimepiride 6 milligram. You can understand the highest dose is 8 milligram. I was already on 6 milligram. Pioglitazone, he actually preferred to prescribe 45 milligram. And then he also added this statin as well as this aspirin in low dose as a, you can say that is an anticoagulant agent. So then after for 1 year, I have continued with those medicine. Meanwhile, I doing lot of exercise, and first of all, I thought let me reduce my medicine. At that time, my fasting was somewhere around 115, 120 like this, and PP was somewhere about 160. So I was satisfied, but with a lot of drugs. In Health Unlocked, there was a discussion when I remember a member. Uh, Her name was Mitu something. I did not remember exactly. She actually convinced me to join D-Life. And she actually also told me about Anup Singh, that he is admin of this forum, and there you will get the right direction. So then after that, I visited the forum D-Life in somewhere about the late 2014. And but there were a lot of hiccups, a lot of inhibition in my mind, that since I belongs to the pharma background, so I always like to go along with the mainstream doctor's treatment. I don't want to deviate from that. A lot of inhibition in my mind. How can I sustain all these fats and say 100 gram, 120 gram fat, and then reducing the carbohydrate? Will it not affect my heart? Will it not affect my liver? This and that. Lot of questions were there. Then ultimately, I thought one thing, that ऐसे भी तो I am not able to control my diabetes. Let me try this. Maybe after for some time, let me try. If it is okay, then it's all right. Otherwise, again, I will come back to the old upon these medicines. So I have joined this D-Life in the 2015, because a lot of time I have wasted it, either I can say. The inhibition and a lot of in my mind it was going on, whether I should join or not. Then meanwhile, since a lot of I read the articles from the different authors, of course, all are from outside abroad, regarding this low carb diet. So somehow I convinced, there are some others articles I have also read. So somehow I convinced the low carb diet will not do harm, at least if so many people are doing and they are getting the result. I have also read about the Bernstein, Dr. Bernstein. So then I thought, कि let me try. अगर होगा तो होगा, then again I will come back to this. So I joined, I think, I correctly remember in March 2015, I joined D-Life. And when I joined D-Life, there were people. Anup Singh is okay. He was there. He is a good, guiding very good to me, as well as some other old fellow now. They are not that active, HSD and all. So they all give me the right direction of how to move, what should be your diet, and how to reduce the medicines. So first, after 2 3 months, I off the pioglitazone. Reading all about this, it is having the not good for the heart. So I first strike out the pioglitazone and then remain on the glimepiride. And glimepiride, meanwhile, I will reduce the dose up to 4 milligram. And metformin, of course, 500 milligram twice a day. After some time, I felt that in the, if I correctly remember, September 2015, I thought that let us off all the grains because still I'm taking the grains now. I'm not able to fully control my blood sugar. So I off all the grains. There is a lot of opposition from my family that what you will eat, how you will survive this and that. But I told him that no, I will survive only with this. Otherwise, I won't survive. So it is a question of survival. So I just off all the grains at once from September 2015. Then after 3 months or 4 months, exactly I'm not remember, I also off all the legumes, all lentils, legumes also I have, except the peanut, all legume I off. So now the rest of the things are simply the vegetables and then curd, then paneer, then cheese and all. This I am taking. In that period, I have reduced my weight also fantastically. I was never overweight, but the weight was reduced. It was somewhere 67 kg to reduce to 62 kg. And this continued. And later on, when I have off all these legumes and grains, I feel lot of comfort in my tummy. I was having lot of constipation earlier. But when I shifted to this, there was a very good, no constipation, and tummy was also feeling very good. That was the remarkable thing I got. And when my blood sugar was under control, diabetic neuropathy was also slowly it is coming down, and I feel very less symptoms of the neuropathy. After this, when I off all this, it is already, I think, 2017 or 18. Then regularly my fasting was somewhere around 2017, of course, I remember correctly. I off the glimepiride totally off the glimepiride. And say, I thought that let me see what is the result of only metformin. And metformin dose I have increased from 500 milligram to 1 gram. That 1 gram twice a day after lunch and after dinner. Initially, there was some problem in controlling the blood sugar. Blood sugar fasting goes above 120 or PP was somewhere 140. Then gradually again controlling the diet and increased my exercise also. I always prefer to do exercise in the evening, sometimes in morning also, but evening exercise, I read that it has a lot of effect on the morning fasting blood sugar. So after 2017, I reduced the glimi first 4 to 2 milligram, and then 2 milligram to 1 milligram, and then lastly completely off the glimi. So I was only on the metformin. And since last 3 4 years, so 3 years exactly I'm selling, I'm only on the metformin. That is all about my journey as a diabetic. What I tell to people who are listening me that, I felt very that control of the blood sugar is much more important. So I just because I have seen many of the members in the forum, they abruptly off the dose of the medicines. That has effect on the blood sugar. So my opinion is that you continue your drug till you are not getting the blood sugar under control. When your blood sugar is under control, then gradually taper down your doses, medicine, whatever you are taking. This is all about my diabetic journey.
So Arun Kumar, it's a very, very impressive journey, and especially considering the fact that you're in pharmaceutical industry much closely with doctors, and then the mainstream view always sticks around. Mine is also similar case because we always believe something which you have been saying for quite a few decades. It's really,
Yeah.
and the best part is you have been able to reverse that neuropathy condition also to some extent. So is it fully reversed or do you still have some neuropathy symptoms?
No, actually, it is, I can't say it's reversed totally, but I have a lot of relief from the symptoms. Sometimes during the extreme cold, I feel when I'm not able to do my exercise, I mean, I do some yogasana and pranayama for this diabetic neuropathy. So during this, like the few days, last 2 3 months, last 2 months actually. So it was, Patna was very cold. I was not able to do. So some symptoms again come. But one more thing, that one my good doctor, he was a good friend of mine also. He is my family doctor also. He told me only one thing, Arun, for diabetic neuropathy, the only mul mantra is you walk, walk, and more walk. Whenever you feel numbness, sit. After 5 minutes, again started walking. So that gave me a lot of benefit from this diabetic neuropathy. So now sometimes it happens, but not much more. I can say the 75% of the neuropathy I have reversed. Sometimes 25% because nerves that is damaged, I know that is cannot be regenerated again.
So Arun Kumar, what are exactly these symptoms so that the viewers can actually understand? Is it only numbness or?
No, actually, symptoms are wide range of symptoms are there. See, diabetic neuropathy may cause the first things which people don't notice it is the constipation. Your vagal nerves in the GI tract, when that is being torn or that is damaged, so you feel constipation. Constipation is the first sign of this diabetic neuropathy. But many of the people, I mean, even the doctors, they don't think that it may be the diabetic neuropathy. They are giving treatment for the constipation, like your different drugs and then different herbs and all. But when vagal nerves are damaged, you are bound to have the constipation because food will not move as per the normal movement. So you can say the peristaltic movement is affected. Then second comes, it is the your numbness in hand or numbness in feet or both. Maybe the lower limbs or maybe the upper limbs, but it or maybe the both. That is the second symptoms. Or normally diabetic neuropathy attacks these two first. Then after that, it comes to the nephropathy. When the nerves of the kidney getting damaged, so you will have the nephropathy. Then nerves of the retina will damage, you will have the retinopathy. So gradually it is going on. So
No,
these are the symptoms.
yeah.
And for God, I mean, thanks to God, I have only one symptom, that is numbness in my leg. In diabetic neuropathy, pain is also very common. Of course, I don't have pain, but pain is also very common. People may have a pain in the lumbar region, may have a pain in the femur, may have the pain in the lower limb, hand, even the fingers. They may have the pain in that.
So in
Yes.
addition to this, Arun Kumar, exactly the symptom would be first of all numbness and maybe pain
Mhm.
and also burning sensation. People typically
Burning sensation.
the soles, the palm and soles, they have burning sensation.
Mhm.
They keep suffering. Maybe some tingling sensation in
Yeah.
soles. I think that people keep suffering without understanding what are the
The
consequences.
problem is that they don't understand the symptoms, that why it is so.
And typically, I think these patients are all recommended vitamin B12,
Yeah.
maybe some.
I agree that peripheral neuropathy may be due to the vitamin B12. That is the, you can say, damage of your nerves and due to the vitamin B12. But mostly if it is people is diabetic, doctors should understand if man is diabetes, so there is chances of getting the diabetic neuropathy. So simply giving, because when I have been attacked by the numbness in my leg, so first I consulted one doctor while visiting, I was outside my home, consultant of one doctor. So he told me, he just simply prescribed methyl cobalamin injections. No benefit, not at all. So that's why maybe the B12 deficiency is there, but most of the cases for diabetes, it is a diabetic neuropathy.
Yeah,
So,
so that's what I was coming to. Usually we are prescribed the B12 and maybe a combination of folic acid and
mm,
maybe even in some cases pregabalin, which will mask the.
pregabalin, yeah,
Yeah. But
correct.
then
Yeah.
the basic the root cause is never addressed. The root cause, that is the high blood sugar, probably is
That is the root cause
the
that
root
doctors
cause.
also ignore.
Generally.
Doctors also understand it is a diabetic neuropathy. So this is a neuropathy. So they go treatment with all these drugs.
Yeah. So that means Arun Kumar, to sum up what you said as of now, so gradually you progressed from metformin to pioglitazone to glimepiride, and what
Mm.
I understand is they're all on the high dose.
High
Pioglitazone
dose. Yeah, correct.
itself is the maximal tolerated dose.
Mm.
Glimepiride 4 mg itself is very high, though 8 could be the maximum one. However, this is
Uh,
very high,
4 milligram is considered, you can say, almost
quite high.
about 160 milligram of gliclazide.
Yeah, quite
It's a
high,
very high dose.
particularly in our population,
Yeah.
where even 4 itself is very high. And to add to it, we have added statin, a few more drugs,
The statin,
B12.
actually, I was just laughing when doctor prescribed me because my other, other parameters, blood parameters were okay. So I told, why you are prescribing? No, every patient who are above 40, I will prescribe a statin to you. That's
So
why
that
he
is
is.
how, that's how the guidelines are. That's okay. Doctor is just doing as per the guidelines. That is okay. Now, what I mean to say is the number of drugs which keeps on adding. Now, if you develop again neuropathy, again, a couple of drugs are added, B12, pregabalin,
Yeah, correct, correct.
and then someone will again get some retinopathy or nephropathy.
Mhm.
More drugs are added, so this keeps on increasing. What I mean is we are not addressing the root cause. The focus on root cause,
Yeah.
blood sugar control, is I mean, it is ignored, and then we keep on adding pills. Just let the viewers know what could be the average HbA1c or blood sugar currently, or
It
sugar.
is, of course, for last 6 months, I have not gone for the HbA1c. But last time when I was, it was a 5.6.
5.6. And what was it during the uh, detection phase, diagnosis phase?
See, Shashi, the very funny thing is that during those days, HbA1c was not
Yeah.
in the actually focus. Actually, no doctor was even knowing it. It comes somewhere about 2000 or 2001, and that too very few labs are doing this HbA1c. So that time I correctly remember, maybe around nine it was.
See, Arun Kumar, I think fasting of 150 and anything about 200, even if it is 200, 250. So I
Mm.
think HbA1c will be 7.5 or so. This is my guesstimate, uh,
Yeah,
based on my own blood sugar, which was 150 and 250 fasting people, and HbA1c 7.2. So I can guess yours would be around 7.5 to 7.5 to 8 to 8 maximal.
yeah, correct.
So from there you come to the safe level of 5.6. So 5.6 is something which is considered as.
One more thing, Sasi, I want to add here that what is the problem with the mainstream doctors? Doctor prescribe me, funny thing is this, he prescribed me, say, diet. He has given a guidelines to diet. No mention of the carbohydrate or protein or fat. He prescribed me two roti in morning, two roti in lunch, and two roti for dinner. And he prescribed me lot of dal, lot of vegetables, and he, although I am vegetarian, but he himself told me that don't take any non-veg food, don't take egg, don't take this ghee, don't take makhan, butter, and don't take anything other than. He is telling about take this vegetable oil, which is marketing. So I request to all the members who are listening me that you understand what doctor is prescribing to you, and then you come to the forum. I will tell you what you have to take and what you don't have to take.
Yeah. So, see, Arun Kumar, I think that is how the standard things are around the world. I mean,
Mm.
see, I don't blame them because they are just following whatever guidelines are there. Uh, It's very, and because they are also not trained on nutrition, so they just recommend whatever.
Yeah, they are just following the guidelines given by.
It's okay. I mean, they are just following guidelines. However, for the benefit of viewers now, many people may not know that low carb nutrition, low carb ketogenic diet is there in all the guidelines. American Diabetic Association 2019, 2020, 2020.
Yeah.
They have an option of low carb nutrition
Mm.
given to patients in case they choose. Diabetes Australia, Diabetes Canada, they also have these in the guidelines. It is just that we do not know. That's all. So what they say is this option should be given to the patients. So it
No,
is.
but funny thing is this, Diabetic Canada, they have given guidelines about the carbohydrate. So I just calculated it's almost about 130 gram per day.
But that is okay. I mean, they have.
But slowly they are come to this low carb.
However, if you refer to the nutrition guideline, they have mentioned a low CHO and very low CHO. So very low CHO is something which actually recommends less than 30 gram, which
Yeah.
is ketogenic. But that's okay. I mean, what I want to highlight to the viewers is these options are there. It is just that we don't know. Now coming back to this particular low carb nutrition, what you're following, Arun Kumar. So how do you think, is it sustainable? Do you think
Yeah, it's a burning idea.
years and years
I'm
together?
doing this low carb since last 6 years. Now, अगर कुछ होना होता तो अब तक हो गया होता. You know, I used to go for the blood sugar and lipid profile, kidney profile, all once in the 6 months at least. And the time is just due. I think in the month of February, I have to do this. So all markers are, everything is good. Even liver function test, because if you are having the high fat, what the doctors have fear that you will damage your liver. Doctors will fear you have a cardiac problems started. But you see, nothing is there. Everything is same. Everything is good. And second thing I would like to tell you here, that don't afraid of the cholesterol, total cholesterol. Total cholesterol is a good thing for us, and particularly people who are aging. Say above 50 if you are, so if your cholesterol is less than 200, that means your body is not functioning well. So you should be always above 200, while the mainstream doctor is focusing that your cholesterol should be less than 200. They are, what I am telling you, triglycerides should be controlled, LDL and HDL. If HDL is higher, then no problem.
So I think Arun Kumar, okay, I mean this misconception does exist that high protein will damage kidney and higher fats will actually damage the heart. But if you really see, there are no high quality studies anywhere. Uh,
Correct.
in the published literature, there is no studies which will show that high
Mm,
actually damage kidney. In fact, I am on a very higher protein diet compared to most others. Uh,
mm,
it can be around 2.2 gram per kg body weight, and let me, my kidney is on functioning on peak conditions absolutely. And the whatever fat we have, again there is a misconception. The saturated fat like butter, ghee, and coconut oil are actually good for us. And again, all the studies, none of the studies have actually shown a clear cut damage which is done by this fat. There are absolutely no studies. What is there is only hypothesis or
mm.
personal opinions. But on the contrary, it is all those modern refined processed seed oils. Uh,
Yeah, correct.
though on the face they might reduce what is called as cholesterol, but they're actually damaging. In fact,
Damaging, yeah.
refined oils have been known to independently cause insulin resistance in many of us. And I strongly believe that today India is suffering only because of the use of this modern processed oil as well as the refined carbohydrates, the include the refined carbohydrate like refined wheat flour or commonly known as maida. So
Yeah.
which is actually destroying us, and especially the reused oil. So now coming back to one more point, Arun, is it sustainable? I mean, how do vegetarians do? I mean, I know that for non-vegetarian, it's a cakewalk. You know, people have anything they want in the non-veg group. People who eat eggs, again, it is very, very easy. They can have n number of eggs they want per day. No issue. But how do you think? Is it sustainable for a
Yeah, I actually, when I shifted to this, I had this problem because I am vegetarian, my family is vegetarian, everybody is taking only veg. So I then, when you have problems now, you will searching for the way outs. What are the options are there? So newer and newer options I have come out, and then started with the vegetables, and then your this curd, I mean hung curd, then paneer, cheese. These are the part of my everyday food. But later on, it was not sufficient. So first I have started. I read somewhere in the forget the name. He written that adding some psyllium husk in the flour will give you the good volume of the flour, and you will feel your stomach is full. Then I come out with the almond flour, then flaxseed flour, and then desiccated coconut flour, and adding with this your psyllium husk, and make a roti. Initially, I make a roti. So since I am not a cook, but I just giving my guidelines to my cook that you prepare like this. So initially it was not good, but slowly she get expertise in this. And now she is doing very fine. So if you see my total, I take only twice a meal, 2 meals in a day. So in morning, I usually take about 12 o'clock, and you will surprise that taking 2, 3 this D-Life roti, and then curd, then your paneer, I mean cheese, and your vegetables, lot of vegetables. Green vegetable, I'm very fond of that. So I take that. And you won't believe, Sasi, that till 8 o'clock in the evening, I won't feel hungry. I don't feel to take anything except for few cup of coffee. So that is how I have done. So when you have, and fortunately nowadays, D-Life, I think more than 1200, 1300 recipes, any, whether vegetarian or non-vegetarian, they have a choice. They have a choice, and sometimes we do prepare, like some cake or something like that, we do prepare. So it is okay. Even you are vegetarian, now there's a lot of options are there. You go and you will feel tummy will be full. But only thing in for vegetarian, it is essential that your saturated fat intake should be more than 100 to 120 grams. Then you will not feel hungry. And then your protein should be minimum of 60 grams. Because on an average weight we are having 60 to 65 kg, 60 grams would be minimum protein you should take. So you won't never feel hungry. At that time, even if you are taking less than 20 gram of carbs, so it will not have any problem as far the your hunger is concerned. Yes, Sasi. So it is for vegetarian, it is okay. Only thing you have to go to D-Life forum and search all these recipes.
I think the best part is, that people, once they enter this low carb nutrition, they automatically come to what is called as 2 meals a day.
Yeah.
The other side is, they have been recommending 3 meals and maybe 2 or 3 snacks. So every day are busy in preparing food and in organizing for food. I think the best part is almost all of actually into 2 meals a day, and maybe they can just snack on some nuts or something, which is very easy. The best part is a lot of time is actually saved, and we can either skip breakfast or skip lunch depending upon
whatever is convenient.
Is convenient. Some people skip even dinner, so that totally depends upon the individual's choice and his lifestyle. And like Arun Kumar, for me, I have breakfast and then I have, because
I understand it is compulsion of your job.
Yeah, so I don't want to have those carbohydrate meals in any other restaurant. So that's how. But I think many of us who are having office jobs or otherwise, they do 2 meals a day. They take lunch and then they take dinner, which is very. Most of them they maintain, I think, this intermittent fasting period of
12 hours, 16 hours.
16-hour fasting, and then 8 window period they have a couple of meals. And even during the other time, during the fasting time, people may have some, let us say, black tea, black coffee, green tea, lemon. So that is how.
I think if you are doing intermittent fasting, not for weight loss, because there are a number of people who are doing intermittent fasting for weight loss also. But if you are not doing for weight loss, if you are if you are diabetic and you want to control your diabetes and blood sugar, then taking BPC, I mean bulletproof coffee in morning, or say even in between your meals, is not hampering your intermittent fasting. I used to do, say, since morning, I used to wake up at 4:30, and from 4:30 to 12 o'clock, 3 cup of coffee is very normal for me, and then 1 or 2 cup in the evening. So that coffee is also playing important role to keep you your stomach full. You don't feel any hungry.
Yeah. So I think essentially, the best part is another best part is that this also becomes, one side people say that whether the meals which having are costly. So there is a big debate whether this is costly or not. Is it economically sustainable? That is one question asked by one of the participants. What do you think, Arun Kumar? I would like to
I
answer
think
this
I,
later,
I
but
think
from your point of view.
yeah, if you are taking non-veg, so that is also now not very costly, economical. And second thing, if you are taking vegetables, vegetarian, that is not costly, because I have seen, say, I'm using the almond flour. People have a normal conception that almond flour very costly. I say no, because almond flour is very heavy as per the high protein, high fats are there. So even if you're using less almond flour, your D-life roti will be very heavy. 2 to 3 roti is sufficient. So I used to buy about 1.5 kg of almonds and make it flour in my house, in my home, and that continue up to 1 month. That is one part. It is not costly. Second part, if you are doing the LCHF, I mean low carb and high fat, you are reducing the cost of the medicines, or you are saving the cost of the medicine. Suppose a man who is spending about 30 rupees, 40 rupees per day on the anti-diabetic drugs. So in a month, he can save all this money and he can spend on the low carb diet. Correct or not?
Yeah,
So
correct. So
yeah, I thought, because now the drugs are also very costly, except few of the drugs which are under Price Control Act. All drugs are very costly.
The newer ones like DPP-4, SGLT,
Very fantastic,
rupees a
very
tablet.
costly, very costly. SGLT, LT2 inhibitor, DPP4 inhibitor, all are very costly. So if you are saving, doing LCHF, you are saving your money on the drugs which you are going to, you were spending earlier. So that was the big saving. It is not a small saving; it's a big saving, and that money you can spend on the low carb diet. Okay, Sasi.
Yeah, so I think, for the viewers, okay, apparently the individual component can appear to be little high, but as Kumar added, if you cut down the cost of medicines, it can be significant. The visit to doctor. So I think we, except the professional visits, I think me and Arun Kumar, we are not visited
Yeah.
for health reason.
Mm.
So we are going to save on that cost, and maybe we do once a year annual checkup. That too, we have our guru like Anup Singh, who does health checkup only once in 5-6 years or so. So even that is eliminated, and we have only 2 meals a day. So instead of having those 5 to 6,
Lot of snacking. Yeah.
if you really add up all this, you will, maybe one day if someone just adds up all this, you will actually find that it is very, very costly. And we are saving time, we are saving money. And the best part is the feeling of health, the energy. And the best part is another, like most of us, all of us can actually go on fasting for 28, 48 hours or even fasting, which otherwise is very difficult for a diabetic patient because they have medication to take. So they will know what to do.
See, Sasi, let's point out, you have correctly said. See, today is Ekadasi fast. So my last meal was 8 o'clock yesterday night. And my next meal will be, say, tomorrow about 12 o'clock. That is the normal my meal time. In between, I will be only on coffee, lemon water and all. Nothing else more than that. So that, you can sustain only when you are on LCHF. Otherwise, doctor is strongly not recommending any sort of the fasting. So that is also good for this health. And if you are on LCHF, only when you can do this. If you are on medicine, it is not possible.
I know fasting is something which is not advocated, and even when they fast for this Ramzan and all, special clinical studies which are done, and just the medication and everything, which we don't need to do. Most of us are not on any medication, or at the most few do take metformin, which is absolute harmless drug, and there is no risk of hypo. People can just skip when they do fasting. So essentially, if you see, there are a lot of other benefits. I think everything should not be seen on only one point, that the foods are costly. No, there are other lot of things we are saving, and the possible hospitalization costs. I think in today's context, we all know that especially those who live in metro city, cost of getting admitted in a corporate hospital, they will just charge and spend 2-3 lakhs and come back. So I think this cost, this could be just totally avoided. And so Arun Kumar, do we just open up for questions? So
Yeah, sure. Anything if you want to add, Sasi, if you want to know from me.
yeah, so I'll just add. Just a minute. I'll just.
Before going to the questions, I have something to tell about my experience, not my experience. I will tell about some, you can say that to all the members, those who are attending here, that LCHF is a natural diet, first of all, because some of the people, not now, not on the forum also, because here in Patna also, for few of my friends, I have suggested to do LCHF and they are doing it. So sometimes they ask me how long I should continue with this diet, when I should return back the normal diet. My suggestion is, my message to all those who are thinking on this line: see, low carb diet is the natural diet. First of all, you should understand what the diet you are taking so far is not natural. That is the not natural for your body, because our body is meant for the low carb diet, not for the high carb diet, first of all. So that I want to tell everything, and our body will work in a better way than on low carb diet than if you are taking the high carb diet. This is what I wanted to tell to all this, because I don't think, but many of the members may think on that. Correct, Sasi? Yes. You can say.
So Arun Kumar, I'll just allow the participants to unmute themselves.
Yeah.
So it is enabled. So participants, unmute is enabled. So anyone wants to ask any question, they can just ask.
Shashi, let me add one thing on cost point, what Arun Kumar had said.
Yeah.
Now, when you calculate cost, the best way to calculate is rupees per kilocalorie.
Oh, very good.
Okay? Not by saying, almond is 1,000 rupees a kg and atta is 250 rupees a kg or something like that. Always calculate cost on basis of rupees per kilocalorie. That will give you an exact idea how expensive or not expensive is low carb. That's all.
And thank you, Anup Singh. So anyone else they want to ask any question? Anjali, Arvind, Bhaskar, Joel, Lata, Milind, Neela, Neha, Padmavati, Praveen, Ranjit. Anyone can unmute, and if they want, they can ask.
Yeah.
I think Anjali has posted a few things that those who are on high carb, they cannot fast more than 14 hours. That is true, because they are on a roller coaster, insulin up, down, blood sugar. It is impossible. There are going to be a lot of signals because the satiety level is very low. So they are going to have frequent hunger symptoms. So that is going to be a big issue.
Shashi.
Yeah.
Oscar here.
Yeah, Bhaskar.
When Arun Kumar, you said you are off lentils. So what lentils are you saying? Are you talking of chickpeas and
beans?
Dals and
Yeah. Lentil means all the lentils. Or rather, I should correct you. I off all the legumes. Now it is including the peanut also. Earlier I used to take peanuts, but now peanut is also all legumes. None of the legume I'm taking now. Chickpea, whether Bengal gram or whatever it is you call it, all these.
Beans, okay. Green beans, string beans. Do you take those? The green beans, string beans?
No, yes. I take a lot of green beans. Green beans is French beans, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, French beans, yes.
No,
See,
But
ask Arun Kumar whether he's taking.
Arun Gaur, what do you think about the need for fiber? See, as you said, we are all constipated.
yeah, fiber, my opinion, you should have at least minimum 20 to 30 gram fiber, in between 20 to 30 gram fiber. Not
Correct.
more than that, not less than that. But for
Correct.
fiber, I depends on the flaxseed and this desiccated coconut flour, as well as the almond flour and the vegetables. I'm taking a lot of vegetables, say almost about 1 kg vegetable green vegetable I consume in a day. Say about
Oh,
500 vegetables, 500 gram. I mean uncooked 500 gram, and this 500 gram uncooked in the dinner also.
oh,
So
oh, that's
that
a
is
lot of.
where I'm
That's
taking
a
this fiber. I depending on those vegetables, flaxseed, desiccated coconut flour, and almond flour, of course.
okay. Okay.
So that's
Thank
perfectly
you.
okay. Like viewers, it is fiber is not an essential nutrient as per all the textbooks. But however, there is absolutely no issue. You can go ahead and have, because non-starchy vegetables are, and you can go ahead and have, and absolutely, if people are comfortable with it, yeah, they can take it. Yeah. Questions? Arvind, you wanted to ask any question?
Yeah. What about this cauliflower rice now, which is coming up as a substitute for rice? Can we have in this LCHO diet?
Hello.
Can you? Your voice is cracking. Can you explain clearly?
No, he is asking about the cauli rice.
Cauli rice. Okay.
Cauli rice.
Got it.
So cauli rice, actually it is my personal liking. I don't like the taste of the cauli rice. Otherwise, I'm taking cauliflower. Like cauliflower vegetables almost every day I'm taking. But sometimes somehow I don't like taste of the cauli rice. But for all the members who like the taste, it is very good option for your rice replace your rice with the cauli rice is a very good option. So you can go ahead with the cauli rice.
People do learn to make it at home also, so they can as well have some pulao and biryani.
Actually, I think in the D-Life forum also we have certain recipe how to make cauli rice and all. It is there.
Yeah,
That is true.
Yeah. What about sprouted moong dal and stuff like that, Shashi?
You can have sprouted for 2 to 3 days. Arun Kumar, how is?
See, I am telling you one thing. Since I was also taking a sprouts like sprouted moong, sprouted chana, and since I have stopped all this, but by a sprouting, what you are doing, you are reducing some percentage of the carbs from this moong or chana, whatever you are sprouting, but not all the carbs. The benefit is that you are getting certain vitamin B and certain minerals by sprouting it. When you are sprouting means you are germinating, and if you leave it, that seed will become a tree, okay, or a small plant. So for planting or for growing, whatever the minerals and vitamins are needed, nature has given while sprouting. But it is not that you will reduce all the carbs from that moong or that chana. So sprouting is good, not bad. You will get fiber also, but it is in a controlled quantity, not more than that. And then it is at least 3 days, as Sasi said. You can also judge by if a sprout is more than half inch or 1 inch, around 1 inch, then it's a good one. Then you can take it.
See, Bhaskar, the other way of addressing this is it is okay to have in small quantity, and everything depends upon your carbohydrate tolerance.
Correct.
See, there are people who can tolerate 100 grams per day, and there are other people who can just tolerate 30 to 50. Like I can tolerate only 30 to 50, not more than that. So I think it is highly individual. There are some who take, a very small quantity of rice also at night. So that totally depends upon the individual carbohydrate tolerance and the blood sugar reading which we get. And I think, yeah.
But Shashi, just like Arun Kumar said, once you cut off grains from your diet, then your carbs drops down only to vegetables and this thing, So your carbs are not above 50 grams in any case, I feel, unless you have some high carb sweets or something. But otherwise, your vegetables and sprouts and your chickpeas cannot add up to 100 grams of carbs.
That's
what do you say?
I mean, see, it depends on individual carbohydrate tolerance. If your blood sugar is controlled, go ahead and have. If you still find that blood sugars are not adequately controlled, and if you drop and get good control, then you can just, just knock it off. So it is individual.
One major question, Shashi, can I address it, please? One last request.
Yeah.
Is the period of diabetes important? I'm a diabetic for the last 32 years now. I was insulin dependent for almost 12 to 14 years. When one fine day I suddenly decided enough is enough and I stopped insulin. Okay. And I started doing LCHF and I've stopped from 80 units to 0, and I am on metformin and this thing now. I'm metformin and Dr. Reddy's tablets.
Glimepiride.
Not glimepiride. Dr. Reddy's tablet is this.
Yeah, glycoside. It's okay.
Correct. So these are the only two medications that I'm taking. So, but my doctor tells me, look, now your pancreas are dead and gone. So you need to take some medication. Is that true? Do you really believe in it, or can I still go under intensive? Because my doctor, I'll tell you, my doctor is Dr. Yagnik of Pune. He's on the British Medical Council for diabetes. He's a very, very big man. He says 6 is very good. Don't try to tinker with it. HbA1c of 6 is very good. He says don't tinker with it.
I agree totally.
He says for your age, if you get a fasting of 115, 120, he says it's very good. Please continue the same thing. He says you try to tinker.
I am on the same opinion. At the age of 70, if you have HbA1c of 6, don't tinker with it.
See, one thing is there, Mr. Bhaskar. One thing is
yes,
there.
Sir.
That of course, what your doctor is saying, he is saying as per the guidelines given by him. See, he may be the big doctor, but after all, they all are following more or less the guidelines given by the ADA or something, even the similar institution in the Britain.
Yes.
Problem is this, actually pancreas is not dead. What we mean to say that your beta cells are dead. So,
yes, correct.
Beta cells, of course, when there is a diabetes, there is a cycle. Of first it is come the insulin resistance. So when there is a insulin resistance, there signals to produce more insulin to beta cells. So beta cells produce more insulin, and there is a pressure on the beta cells. So over the years, gradually beta cells producing insulin, and over the years, beta cells are slowly decreasing and necrosis is there. Necrosis means death of the cells. So gradually beta cells died. Not the pancreas, but beta cells died. So even though I think for even those who are depending on the insulin, not all beta cells are died. Some beta cells are still producing the insulin. So if you are on the very extremely low carb diet, you don't need to even taking your sulfur-iridium drugs, that is your gliclazide, what you are taking. That is not required. The same is with me. My insulin, endogenous insulin is very low producing very low. My beta cells is almost, say, excepting few, most I think is died. So in that case, what I have to do, I have to depending only on I'm only taking metformin. What I have to do, if I will continue to take glimepiride, then more and more remaining beta cells will also die after few years or few months rather, you can say. So what I have to do, I have to restrict my carbohydrate. Even for the smallest portion of carbohydrate, spike my blood sugar. So I try to keep it below 20 grams. So that is why if you do below 20 grams, then you will also find that there is no need of even gliclazide. Okay, Mr. Bhaskar?
Right. Thank you, Mr. Arun Kumar. I'm grateful. Thank you, Shashi.
Welcome. So question from Angel is, for pre-diabetic, is it all right to have dals, legumes, and perhaps one-time rice, all within 100 grams carbs, also including egg, cheese, and other meals and nuts and snacks? What do you think, Arun Kumar?
I think I understand that Anjali, some of her patient must have asked this. But once you started taking rice, legumes, and dal or other things, so this habit is not going to stop, because I firmly believe that like alcohol, carb is also addictive. Once you taking carb, suppose you take one rasgulla. See, if you take one rasgulla, you will feel always to have second one. Correct or not?
Absolutely, 100%.
So you can't restrict yourself under the 100 gram when you are starting taking the carbs. Dal, even if you're taking dal, if you're taking 100 grams uncooked dal or 100 grams cooked this rice, it itself, and if you are taking in the morning, you will feel like taking in the night also. So it is very difficult. It is just theoretical things that I will keep it under 100 gram. Not possible. Anjali, so once you just cut dal, rice or grains, everything, once for all, you should cut. And second thing, as Anup Singh has told me once, there is no pre-diabetic or diabetic. Once you are diabetic, you are diabetic. No in between. Diabetic or non-diabetic, no pre-diabetic.
Yes, the reason I posted that question, Arun, is I was also, when I was listening to your story, you said literally you shifted, I would say overnight, not literally overnight, but within a short span of time, you completely went keto. Yeah. Unfortunately, most of the other people who are, wanting to bring a better control, they find it very difficult to do the transition. Especially like people who are from the south, they're very addicted.
I understand. I understand people have the lifelong habit of taking the type of food. You cannot ask them to change it overnight. So what I suggest here, of course, I just suggest you. I have not done that. But what I suggest is, suppose people is taking the rice, like Anup Singh is taking the rice. Anup Singh is taking rice. I don't think how many people know this. He sprinkle the cooked rice over his chicken or over his whatever he's taking, and he enjoyed it. So you just gradually ask your patient to come down slowly, but not more than 1 month. That is 1 month is sufficient. And once you cut down all the grains and legumes, really, I'm telling you, your patient will feel very good. Then after he or she will not like to again come back to the old habit of diet. So actually now if somebody will offer me rice or something, roti or something like that, I'm the last man to go for that. Because I just forget all the taste even. So once you do that, Anjali, your patient will be much more benefited.
Completely agree. I also agree in terms of rice, but how about legumes? Like once in a week, like a kala chana.
No, legumes actually. See, my case was different. My actually case was different because the even little carb I'm unable to tolerate. Because I always see, in spite of all the every day I take my blood sugar even today. The morning about 4:30 I wake up and take my blood sugar first. Then I had my coffee and all. Sometimes after coffee also I take. So even the little carbohydrate, if you have, say about 30 gram or 35 gram, it will have the impact on my fasting as well as PP blood sugar. So that's why once for all, I have decided not to take even the legumes. Because all the legumes have carbs except the peanut. Peanut is having very low carb. So 16 gram, I think, is per 100 gram. So peanut hardly will take 20 gram or 30 grams at one sitting. So you will hardly have 3-4 grams of the carbs from peanut. But as for the others, dal, I mean, even chana dal or chickpeas, almost about 50% of the net carb. And total carb is 60%, 62%, 12% say fiber, and 50% is the net carb. So 50% net carb, if you're taking say even the 50 gram of your chickpea or chana, so that will have you taking the 25 gram of net carb. So for whole of the day carb quota, I will finish only one sitting.
If I may add.
Yeah, sure.
See, Anjali, you are aware of the latest case of my friend. Who joined with a blood sugar of 392.
Correct.
Right? And PP, I think, was somewhere around 250. Basically, his tail was on fire. Now, you are also aware the changes that he has gone through.
Yeah.
And basically, I think today is his 14th day. Numbers are 108, 110. Whether it is FBS or PPBS, maximum I think he hit was 120 or 122. Now, as you said about rice, yes, I have allowed him rice. I've told him, 50 grams cooked weight, okay, and dilute it to make it around 200 grams of any recipe that you can make out of it. Add vegetable, add paneer, add scrambled egg, whatever you can add. So
Okay.
as Arun Kumar said, yes, I am enjoying rice. I don't take rotis normally, but rice, yes. And yes, it will ultimately boil down to how much of it you can tolerate per sitting. It is
Okay.
not per day. Per sitting, if you can tolerate 20, go ahead with 50 grams cooked rice. If you cannot tolerate, then reduce it. That's it.
Okay.
So coming back to what I was telling Anjali, that everything depends upon your carb tolerance and what blood sugar reading you get. And if you keep doing a lot of tests initially, then you will understand which food you can tolerate, which you cannot tolerate. And I don't mind, like Anup Singh has said, let someone have a little bit of cooked rice, maybe at night. My concept is just don't have any major carbohydrate during the first half or till the evening, so that your liver gets drained of glycogen, and a little carbohydrate at night is okay, depending upon your blood sugar reading, and all this glucose will actually go and get converted to glycogen as storage. So essentially, we should remember this. Some can tolerate a bit more, some cannot tolerate a bit more. So it is highly individualized. So that's why we say, again, a caveat to all those who are listening. So
No, actually, so say,
or yeah, just a minute. Arun
sure,
Kumar,
sure.
a caveat for everyone listening is not to go directly and adopt low carbohydrate. They require a low carb nutritionist as one of the an advisor. They should be under consultation of doctor also, because medications can cause hypoglycemia. So just keep this in caution. And I think if you have a good guide, they can easily get you off medication. Yeah, Arun Kumar, you're telling something.
Yeah, I was telling that as far the cooked rice is concerned, people I know, many people have a habit of taking the cooked rice. But then at least in that condition, if you are taking that, you should have portion control, and you should have the control over your desire to take the rice. If you continue taking the rice, it will go from 100 gram, 50 gram, 100 gram, 150 gram like this. So you should have full control over your mind. Correct?
And yeah.
Otherwise, Anup Singh is also taking mango. That didn't mean that we should started taking the mango, because I know the man, he has a capacity of controlling his desire of the portion. One slice is sufficient, but I cannot take one slice. When I was taking mango, I was taking whole mango. So that is just an example. You should have control over it on the portion.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
sir.
you
So,
so much.
Anjali, I hope this clears off. You have anything more?
Yes, this does. It's not about, I don't understand, but many times there's this issue of transition, and some of them are finding it very difficult to get over the mental block of transitioning. Like, so many years we've been eating rice, suddenly I need to move over, no dal, especially huge challenge with vegetarians, because the protein source is also a bit difficult for them to focus on initially. So yeah, I do get your point. And legumes, definitely, because legumes was something I was slightly partial to, depending on how intensive the issue was with clients. But anyway, thank you so much, Arun, Shashi, and Anup.
Yeah, and Anjali, I understand, especially people from South will find it a little difficult, because they are not used to having all this paneer and all, which one part may have, which is easily adoptable, because it is little. But we need to accept that and see that, how we cook it in an interesting way, so as to have. So there is some sort of adaptation has to happen, and I think Anup Singh will have a favorite quote of changing the diet. Anup Singh, you want to mention that what Eric Westman said?
Eric Westman. People used to come to him and say, I think it was some lady who said, no, it is very difficult. I cannot switch. So Dr. Eric Westman said, okay, if it is very difficult and it is difficult to switch, what if I kidnap your son? Would it find it difficult? Would you find it difficult? So the lady said, no, it will be very easy. From tomorrow I am switching. So, sometimes you have to be very strict, on people who want relaxation from you. Some are very cooperative. Some you will find they're tough nut to crack. With tough nut to crack, you have to be very tough.
Yeah.
Sometimes blunt, either you do this or you go to hell. That is what I say.
Correct.
And normally 99% will switch. After seeing 390 blood sugar, I think it has to be a completely ignorant person not to listen to anybody who's talking LCHF. That's all.
Your friend was literally, if anyone studies that case, they'll only simply say it is a miracle, 3-week
It is very easy. It's very easy, Give them freedom for breakfast. Give them freedom. Don't give them any freedom for dinner. If he's going to office, I just said, okay, nuts and coffee, that's all for 1 week. You're not having anything else.
Correct.
Right? And he followed it. And the second day when he saw, from 390, he dropped down to 89, he was shocked. Then drugs started going off. And within 5 days, I think his glimmy was off completely. Now, given him flexibility, okay, raat mein jo hai, you can add 50 grams by weight. That is max. Cooked rice and dilute it to 200 grams, 250 grams is whatever you want, except grains. Grains includes legumes, as Arun Kumar said. Because any grain, whether it is legumes or grains per se, it is 60 to 80% carbohydrate. Keep that in mind.
Correct.
So all these things are highly individual, Anjali. So that totally depends upon individual who's multiple comorbidities. There are many who will have a lot of comorbidities, and I think there we need to be very strict, very strict to keep the carbohydrate around 30 or less. So I think any modification we do and any leniency we give, then it's going to be an issue. So I think it is, and again I say that it is highly individual. It is person to person. So we cannot really say that if this person has responded very well, and then we have also seen a lot of person who takes 6 months or even a year to respond. So I think it's again highly individual level. Yeah, thank you. So anyone else has any question, or we can end the session now?
I think there was one question from Neha who was asking how you manage during festival and Diwali.
Yeah, see, Arun Kumar.
Yeah. Of course, nowadays it is not a problem since last 1 or 2 years, because everybody in my family understand that come what may, I'm not going to take any sweets or any high carb diet. But earlier there was a problem. My wife used to say, my daughter, my son used to say, "Arey, ek din kha lo, ek din mein kya hone ka hai?" Mane, you should take one. Otherwise, this is a festival. It comes just once in a year. I used to take actually one small piece of the sweets, or in the sometimes in the birthday and all, a small piece of the cake. But then if you are on a very low carb diet, that will not affect your blood sugar much. So I hardly notice any rise in my blood sugar if I took a piece of cake in the night and morning. There is no change in much of in the fasting blood sugar. Even after taking some sweets, a small quantity sweets. Sweets I usually prefer the dry sweets, which is available in our area. So that a small piece of sweets, say half of laddu or half of peda, something like this, that does not impact much, because I have not noticed that my sugar has increased. So in that case, I suggest also that those days when there is a festivals like Holi, Diwali, Dasara and all, you should allow some small quantity of sweets, but it should be very, very controlled. Am I clear, Anjali?
Yeah, Anjali, from my point of view, I think we should be prepared with a lot of alternatives. Now, in DLife Forum, or even if you go in any of the sites, we get a lot of alternatives, low carb alternatives, same thing which we make. So DLife does have a lot of options to make, and we all know how to make them. And if one is well controlled for a few years, let us say like 3, 4, 5 years, maybe once in a while, if you have a little bit, it is okay. Now, even if I break during festival time, if I have a little sweet or go on a high, so I'm back in ketosis within 2 days, and the next meal itself I shift to low carb immediately. So I think there's something which
correct.
Understand. It needs to be an informed decision that we are breaking something, and we should not be stuck to that for long. So maybe if it is 1 or 2 meal, we take an informed decision that we are breaking, and then get back to the original meal as soon as possible. So it is absolutely
correct.
And a lot of options are available during Diwali.
Yeah, lot of options. Actually, in the DLife Forum, you will have a lot of sweet options also.
Yeah. So I also stock up on certain low carb sweets, so that the general festival thing is not, should not be missed by us, and then we did not break our routine. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry if I'm hijacking with a lot of questions, but another question that I had was, since we're talking about sustainability and long-term utilization or long-term sticking on to low carb as our normal. Now, as a diabetic, let's say somebody is diabetic for 5-6 years and they switch to low carb, does it kind of mean that the minute you start becoming diabetic, or even before they are declared diabetic, from then on, your pancreas is kind of, deteriorating, and it is going bad, and therefore it's not functioning as normal. So does low carb over 5-6 years kind of help regain what it was originally, or is it that the strength of that entire organ and the functionality kind of stays reduced and it just is tolerable? I hope you're getting my point.
Yeah, I got your question. Anjali, actually, in our body, there are certain cells which can be regenerated, but many of the cells can't be regenerated. And beta cells is one of them. Once beta cell necrosis is there, the beta cells can't regenerate in itself. Our body is not able to regenerate beta cells. So once beta cell died, so you don't have any other option but to have either the low carb diet, very low carb diet, or in the mainstream treatment, go for the insulin or something, the drugs which can produce insulin in your body. But beta cells can't be regenerated. Other cells are also, like your heart muscles, myocardium cells are not being regenerated. Many of the cells are there. Even some of the nervous system cells, like central nervous system cells, are not being regenerated. So in that case, in the case of diabetes, when beta cells are damaged, I mean, pancreas means you are indicating to beta cells. The beta cells is damaged, then it can't be regenerated. So that's the problem is there. So once you have to go for the low carb, and it should be continue on the low carb for whole of the life.
Got it.
So thank you. So Anjali, I hope this addresses your all your queries. So I think it's time up now. Arun Kumar has certain appointments to.
One minute question, Shashi, if I may, please.
Yeah.
Arun Kumar, you mentioned the vagus nerve. Dr. Bernstein is quite strong on the vagus nerve. Is there any way to regenerate or reactivate the vagus nerve?
Yeah, actually, I'm telling you, many of the cells can regenerate. Actually, most of the cells have ability to regenerate, and some of the peripheral nerves are also having the capacity to regenerate, except some of the central nervous system cells which cannot be regenerated. But for the vagus nerves, for the nerves in your arms, leg, or any other portion of nerves, they can be regenerated, and vagus nerves also regenerated. Once your vagus nerves is damaged, if you are controlling your diet and if you controlling everything or the region for the damage of the vagus nerves, that can be regenerated of itself. So once you have a vagus nerve damage, you have a constipation. But if you control that, your diet and other things, your blood sugar is under control. So slowly your nerves are also being regenerated. Most of the nerves, not all.
Okay.
Thank you
very much, Arun.
Yeah, hope it addresses your query, Bhaskar. So
thank you so much, Shashi.
Yeah, viewers, thank you very much, and thanks Arun Kumar especially for sharing your 6 years experience as well as all those decades of diabetes history. And I'm sure that everyone is going to benefit. And I invite everyone to DLife Forum so they can come and they can see all the success stories. Thank you very much.
Thank you.